Welcome back. This is our third video. My name's Dave Millard. I'm here with Charlie Hargood and Ricky Prince, and we're going to have a look at the third set of courseworks done by the students on our game design and development course at the University of Southampton. Ricky, do you want to say a little bit about what we're expecting the students to do?
Absolutely. In this coursework we asked them to develop a small game prototype to demonstrate one of the following innovations within the games technology in the last few years. We asked them to either look at adaptive difficulty, procedural content generation, the use of a novel interface to the game, so either the input or the output mechanisms, or to look at real-world location-based elements within that game. And in particular, we were asking them to demonstrate how that can be effective within the design of the game that they've built.
Okay. So and again, I think we had a couple of students who did VR type ones, and they're going to be in a different batch to these. So I think most of these are adaptive difficulty, procedural generation, those kind of things, or a mixture of the two. Okay, so let's get going.
Our first game is Jetpack Game.
Okay, so
Nice, simple name.
So I looked at this one.
Right, here I am. I'm totes in a game and I've got a jetpack and I've got some sort of gun. Splendid.
Yep. You will die if you crash.
Nice jetpack controls. They feel very responsive and
so
appropriate.
Like I said, I played this in the expo and it's a really playable game.
How do you open the box?
I think you just land on it. Yeah, there you are. So you've also got grenades. I think, is that right mouse button?
Yeah, that's like it. Oh, it deforms the terrain
and
as well.
It deforms the terrain.
Nice. Yeah.
So is this adaptive difficulty or
so it's procedural generation.
Yeah, the procedure generates the level.
So and it's actually there's a couple of things to say about this. I think as I said, I played it in the. Oh, that's interesting. So I played it in the expo. It's really nice to play. It feels really good. The procedural generation is really quite fun. So it basically works a bit like Game of Life, in that essentially they start off with a random grid of alive and dead cells, and then there are rules, and then they iterate over generations and generations to.
Yeah, they showed me the algorithm they were going to implement when they were designing this, and it seemed quite sophisticated.
It is, and it works quite well. If you look at the spaces it generates, it actually works to generate some really nice playable areas.
Did they come up with this themselves, or was it
I think so. I'm sure they were inspired by things like Game of Life, but yeah, the actual values of the algorithm, what makes something alive or dead, I think that they tweaked basically until they got it right.
So Game of Life's quite far away from something that would generate a level like this.
It is, yeah.
I think actually, sorry to interject, but I think actually having seen their thing, it's not entirely original. They read a blog or something that inspired them to do this. Okay. But I think that it was the idea was given to them, but their implementation is original.
Of course, yeah.
And they do do some other nice bits in here as well. So there's some minor adaptive difficulty as you progress through. There's also other things as well. So you'll notice that the chests are around. They don't prevent dead space areas being created, so there are unreachable areas. Except they're not unreachable because you've got grenades. So one of the things they did is they detect these spaces and then they increase the number of chests within them. So actually it is worth your time blasting through with grenades to get the goodies that are in that space. So that works quite well.
So the one thing I was going to say is that although this is a fantastic little game and it's great fun to play, however, I'm not thoroughly convinced that procedural generation is really important to the start of game. I'm not convinced that if I was to play this game with a predetermined level, it would be a lot less fun.
Yeah, I as you know, that's one of the questions we kind of asked them. And again, I think they were talking about replayability.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the Spelunky argument, basically. And but the thing is,
that would be true if you were completing this level.
Yeah,
and it looks like a tough enough level that you'd have to replay it half a dozen times to finish.
True.
So you buy yourself replayability just from difficulty, and it's a matter of balancing that. If it's something that's really quick iterations that you have that would get boring because you're playing it so many times in 5 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, also I think it's worth saying that even if it's, I think the procedural generation definitely adds something. I just don't think it adds a lot. That's the thing. It's, I think it's
made some really interesting spaces for the type.
It has.
For the jetpack.
I think the algorithms are really nice algorithm.
It fits really nicely with the mechanics you've got.
And again, there's things to pull you through. So the fact that there's chests, the fact that actually the space is quite interesting to explore, I think that works quite well. there is some, like I said, minor adaptive difficulties. So not only the chest, I think also the number of elements, number of enemies, varies as well. But fundamentally, it's a fun game. The mechanics are fun. The grenades are fun to play with.
Oh yeah, the sort of base quality of the game is great. It's
What's our goal? What are we trying to do?
So you're trying to get down to the bottom right hand.
Oh, you are trying to get to
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go to that in a second then.
It could do with a little bit more explanation.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it might have just been survival because we've seen that quite a lot with these games.
So overall quality, I think, is really good.
The overall quality is excellent. I think the procedural generation algorithm they've implemented is sophisticated and worthy of praise. I think the meaningfulness of that algorithm is perhaps a little questionable, but I don't want to be too harsh on them.
No, I agree. I think the key question is, if you had just designed this, would it make the game qualitatively any different? And I think you'd probably have got slightly more interesting spaces.
Yeah. You get more progression and pacing,
and you feel the progression would be better.
It would get harder. This would be super cool if it was a multiplayer deathmatch.
Yes.
If there were 3 or 4 other players.
Yeah, it really would.
All fighting.
A bit beyond scope, but you're right. It would make.
I think then the procedural content generation would be really useful because you would be playing lots of quick death matches. So you would want some interesting new spaces each time.
Yeah, I love the grenades. They also appear to be saying "ow" every time he gets hit, which is quite fun.
Did you just hit?
Yeah, you took damage from your own grenade. That's the first thing I did when I played. Was I threw a grenade into a wall and blew myself up.
Standard.
Well, much as I'm enjoying this, I think we're at a consensus there, right? It's a good game. The procedural generation is sophisticated and worthy of praise.
Yeah, really nice. It works really well.
Possibly some things that they could do to make it more.
Oh, Charlie.
That's right. To make it more meaningful, but that's fine.
And difficult within the scope. I think Ricky's probably right. You needed to have done quite extensive stuff to do more with it. So a really nice example, I think, of a sophisticated algorithm.
Sure.
And a great little game, and that's the one game in the expo that I really wanted to play again and again and again. Yeah.
Let's move on. So our next game is Cat Hero 2 Electric Boogaloo, and the only example we've had on this game course of a sequel to one of the previous games.
So this was the first one we got.
It was indeed.
Hero.
Yeah, indeed. So
this is made by different developers.
So they've stolen the idea.
No, it's like the Barber of Seville and the Marriage of Figaro.
So we have an RSPCA box here, and we're trying to catch kittens as they tumble to their doom. Okay, and then we tip them into the kitten shelter, quote unquote.
The kitten shelter that shreds the kitten?
Yes.
I'm a little bit disturbed by this. when I played this in testing whether these games actually work, clearly this is a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, how do you save the cats? So I was chucking cats over the edge here, stopping them going in the electrified thing, losing.
Well, that's the thing. You're solving the cat population crisis in a slightly unethical way.
Why are those tumbling cats quite so satisfying?
That's right. And notice as well, the
Charlie.
tails on the cats are physics dependent as well. They bend and move around.
Oh, you're right.
So everything else is static on the cat. But
also, one of the things I like about this is that it's using the physics engine, so they drop into the box.
Yeah.
But they do genuinely drop into the box, so they're not.
It's a bit.
They're not vanishing. You really are grabbing them. And
yeah, indeed. So the other thing to bear in mind, in order to better, so this game is adaptive difficulty. Oh, loads of levels. There's like 12 levels or something.
Designed levels.
Designed levels. It's not procedure generated. So one of the things to expose to us the adaptive difficulty, they've put the numbers in the bottom right hand corner to show us that there's different things they're recording for the adaptive difficulty, although the screen size that we've got is actually cutting that off for some reason.
Yeah,
maybe we've got the resolution slightly wrong. But they're recording basically the percentage at which you catch the cats, the percentage of which you accurately dump the cats into the shelter.
The mixer.
The accuracy.
Yeah, because you might catch the cat and then not dump them into the shelter because this thing sometimes moves as it goes on. What's the third one?
Is it down there?
Yeah, I can't see there because it's cut off on the left hand side.
Yeah.
There's another one as well. I can't remember.
So, but what's it actually adapting? The number of cats.
So it does.
It
adopts the speed at which they spawn, the speed at which the thing moves at the bottom, and the number of power ups you get.
Yeah.
So, so the power-ups are good and bad. Right? Green ones are good ones, red ones are bad ones. So that's another one of the things, is that you're supposed to sort of catch the red ones and then dump them not in the shelter, as it were.
Okay.
And the green one makes the thing slow down for a bit, I think. I haven't got it there. And the red one causes loads of cats to suddenly spawn.
So although I sort of like the fact the physics engine is very consistent, it does take a long time to dump the cats.
Yes. But that's part of the challenge, right? I think if it was instantaneous, right, it'd be far too easy for them to just fall in there.
But it might be better if you just open up the box and blast them off, blast them out or something. It just seemed to take a bit too long.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's fun to play, because Charlie's the one playing it. It is mesmerising to watch.
It is exceptional to play. I can tell you that much. Like I said, now it's gone absolutely crazy.
I had a little go at it. Is it... So this is noticeable dynamic difficulty.
Yeah.
Is it adding to the game?
So this is the thing.
It's
The
already
dynamic
quite a
difficulty is
frantic
definitely
game.
there, but I don't think it adds an awful lot. It adds a bit. Okay.
I love the background.
Yeah, indeed.
To be honest,
This one's got moving platforms.
I'm old enough to have used Windows 95 in anger, and it felt quite a lot like this.
So it's so that while the adaptive difficulty is definitely there, and I do notice it's there, I'd be hard pressed to say whether it was adding a tremendous amount over just a game that got harder as we went on.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I might be wrong there. I mean, maybe I'd have to play it a lot to know for sure. But I think what we have here is the example of a sophisticated adaptive difficulty game that is only making a mild difference to the quality of the game.
So what it does do, though, is it does mean, because you've got these different levels, if they had like a linear progression for difficulty, it would mean that you find it very difficult to get to the final levels.
Sure.
Whereas here, you've got a chance to experience all of
So
them
one of the
at different
things
levels of difficulty.
you may have noticed is because I've been really good at getting them in the hopper, but I've actually missed a few from catching them. The hopper is currently moving fast, but it's not raining that many cats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it does have this very sort of custom feel to it,
Oh,
right?
that's quite nice. It's got dynamic.
Wait, isn't that the
elements to
opposite
it.
of what you would have wanted?
No, because the if you're bad at getting them in the hopper,
no,
you want the
I see,
hopper to move slowly, right?
You're right.
So that you can dump them in. Whereas if you're having trouble catching them, you want it to stop raining cats.
It's got even more mesmerising.
Oh, the red one slows down your box. That's what it does. Yeah.
And you have to put it in the...
No, you don't. You have to get rid of it because you don't want
the
that.
red one. Yeah,
the red one's the bad
trigger
one.
either of the things, you've got to drop them in the shredder.
Yeah, I still think the tip action is too slow.
Sure.
I think it makes it quite difficult to make those kind of decisions where you're going, oh, okay, there's a red one coming. I need to dump the cats I've got, and then I can get the red one and dump.
So this is one of this was one of the more popular games at the expo, right? A lot of people.
I wonder why.
Yeah. Hate cats.
Or people are like internet representations of cats.
Yeah, it's the sort of rigor mortis cats with a physics engine and dynamic tails. Just extraordinary.
I think because it keeps going. There's loads of levels. You can't fault them on the amount of content they made.
Yeah. It's almost like they enjoyed it too much.
Yeah. Okay.
Would we have liked different coloured cats? Do we think?
Maybe. So
So what I'm dynamically change colour.
So trying to move on from just being mesmerised by cats here. I think let's get back to what we're assessing here. And what we're assessing is that they have made a quality game that is fun to play, although possibly box animation needs to be faster. If you listen to Dave.
Yeah.
But what they have done is they made a sophisticated adaptivity engine that does work, and you can tell that it's working, and you can tell what it's doing.
Yeah.
However, it's maybe not the most important thing.
Is it giving you something that you wouldn't get from a design level?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it gimmicky? And the answer is to be honest, it probably isn't.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah,
maybe a little. I wouldn't want to be too harsh about it.
No, it works. It works, and it does give you a different experience than if you had a linear difficulty thing going on. Yeah.
God almighty.
So
I want to see how far the levels go.
So do you think it actually, if it wasn't adaptive difficulty, do you think it would make it more replayable? Because there'd be more value in getting to the later levels, and the levels would be more of a reward.
Maybe. So this is something. So I remember when they pointed out the obvious comparison for this game is Peggle, and one of the things they pointed out with Peggle is that Peggle, just gets more difficult at a static rate, and I was like, but maybe that's one of the good things about Peggle. There are the good level, the easy levels and the hard levels.
I don't remember Peggle being like this. I'll be honest.
Don't remember the cats in Peggle.
If anything, that's what Peggle was missing.
Yeah.
So I think the consensus is it's a really fun game. Yeah. It's fun to watch. Sounds like it's fun to play.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the design of it's really nice, but And the implementation is really good, but we're just a little bit concerned that actually, in terms of how meaningful it is and how much it changes the game, maybe it doesn't quite achieve as much as it should do.
Yeah, I got to the end. Right, good.
High
Perfect
fives
point
for
to
Charlie.
stop. Right, okay,
Good work,
cool.
guys.
Let's move on. Our next game is Falling Nightmares.
Oh yes, I looked at this in the expo. Again, a number of these games have put the controls right up front, and that is very, very helpful.
So I'm falling through some sort of terrifying gallery
Yep.
as a knight or a robot.
It's got to be a knight.
Yeah, it looks like
it might
sort
be a
of
silver
knight.
robot. It looks like that blue robot from the other.
Yeah.
It does look a bit like it. So basically, you're falling down this kind of strange, endless tower. You have a score which is based on how far you fall. The collision is a bit strange. They said they tried to make it generous, and there's definitely a thing where you can sort of just hit the edge and bounce off a bit.
Yeah, I saw that.
But there's definitely a few places when I was playing it where I got a bit caught out. I think that's a power up. I think it slows you down. I think.
So when you lose, it seems to do the collision a long way from, like, it might be the perspective, but a long way from when you'd actually get there.
Okay.
And
so
you almost
maybe it
need the
doesn't
animation of you actually hitting
Maybe
it.
that's the problem, that it animates a bit further on. So it's procedural generation.
Yeah.
It basically, what it does is they've got about 30 templates for these shapes, and some of the shapes have got power ups in them, and some of them don't.
It's a dynamic procedural.
And what it does is it generates those in order. I don't believe it does it as you fall. I believe that what happens is it generates them all up front, and then you fall through them all.
So that means there is a bottom then?
I think. No, I think it might wrap.
Alright. Okay.
It's a shame. It seems like a good opportunity to adjust
So-
it as you're falling.
It's actually
can
a
only see 2 or
really
3
nice
ahead.
idea for a game, and you do speed up. And one of the things I noticed was that as you speed up, it does gets a lot more fun.
Yeah, well, so it certainly feels fun to play, and the procedural generation obviously feels meaningful because it means that you don't, you can't remember the order of the puzzles, and also by doing those templating things. So the obvious thing to do here would have just been to had random shapes, but that's not necessarily fun, right? Having these set shapes where you can sort of target a certain sort of pattern is.
So I kind of felt.
Fun. Although that said, there doesn't seem to be.
So I actually took a slightly different view of this. It works really well, right? So for what they've done, I think it works nicely. But again, what they're doing is just a random ordering of these things. I believe there were a couple that were in pairs. So what they wanted to do was to make sure that it was possible to if they had one with the holes in the top left, and the next one wouldn't be in the top right, in the bottom right. However, I think it would have been better to have actually had a go at doing genuine procedural generation, completely randomly, but have some rules to determine
Some
things.
templating, yeah.
So there are rules about the number of empty holes you need to have, rules about the relationship between the sequence of things. So
that would have been more
you could have done
sophisticated,
that.
maybe.
You could have done it dynamically. So depending on the speed that you're falling,
The parameters of those rules change.
It changes. So I think they've got the basis for something really nice here. They've got a relatively simple procedural generation algorithm that works. It's perfectly effective.
Yeah.
But again, they could have done a lot more, and they wouldn't have had to have a different engine to do it. They just have had to have slightly different logic behind the scenes, and I think they'd have ended something with much more variety and a lot more fun.
Is the whole grid a template, or is it made up of
I believe the whole. I think it's the whole grid.
So that's the other way you could have done it, right? You've done it in quarters or something like that,
Yeah.
right? That'd be another
Give you a
possible
bit more variety.
way of looking at it. But
There's one where you just clip the edge there.
yeah, there is. I still think the it's a bit weird. The collision detection is a little bit sticky, I think. But,
And in terms of the game design, I'm kind of curious that they didn't have you speeding up more quickly.
yeah, it feels a bit slow.
And
doesn't
I
it?
think,
sort of scoring
and then having some kind of visual representation of your speed would have been very useful. And linking that to the score, I'm not sure if the speed is linked to the score.
Oh, there is.
in the top right, which seems to be
And again, I
survivability.
think
Is it just number of seconds survived?
the
Yeah, I
faster
think
you
so.
were going, the more you accumulate score. Little things they could have done with the logic that would I think made a big difference.
Had a big difference, yeah. Indeed, I agree. I think that they could have certainly have done it with speeding it up more.
There you go. So
I also think there's something,
they start to get instantly. I think it's more fun.
So this is the thing. So there's one thing with the speed for difficulty as well, but the shapes for difficulty as well. Because the thing with the procedural generation is sometimes I found myself getting like really difficult shapes early on, like tiny holes to go through. Whereas early on you should probably be giving them easier shapes to dodge. Like, see, now it's hard, but I've got a load of easy shapes in a row.
Yeah, there you go.
Probably for the best. It's a good balance.
Yeah.
It feels like it should end.
Now it feels like you're playing, right? Now it feels like you're really going for it. So that's I think will slow you down. Yeah, there you go. Okay.
And now I've made the game less fun as
well. There's a power up, that blue power up.
Oh, the power up
slows you down.
It needs a finish.
But again, you see, I don't think I think going fast is what makes it fun.
Yes.
So actually giving you the slowdown, maybe the power up should have shrunk you.
Feels a bit negative, doesn't it? It's like, oh, now I've made the game less fun.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas if it made you 20% smaller,
then it would be easier but still fun.
Yeah,
because it's I guess this idea of falling right is a sort of high octane game that you're making a bit sluggish. But unfortunately, I think I've actually got quite good at this game now, and I can't stop until
you're a lot better than I was, I tell you.
I
also think I think the other problem I had was it's not quite clear from the shape of the model where the centre is.
You're losing.
Right.
Okay, yeah. So I think that what we have there is we have a game with procedural generation that absolutely works. Quite simple implementation. It's not very sophisticated, but it's a good use of that simple implementation. Okay, definitely adds to the game, and you definitely feel it.
And they've thought about it. Like I said, there are one or two of those tiles that have relationships that says this tile must be followed by this tile. But I just think actually they could have done more with that. They could have been more ambitious with the actual algorithm. And again, it's some simple changes to the game would have just made it a lot more fun.
Sure.
But again, good foundation. In terms of an engine that you could build on, and a nice idea for a game as well.
Good mobile game.
Let's move on. Our next game is Unalive. So I played this one at the expo, and you're going to find it similar to one of the games we played earlier. So this is again a walkie roundy shooty, but you remember how we said with the other game how it would possibly be more fun if you made killing the enemies the point of the game. Well, this game's got you covered. Okay, so
what is that thing?
So
Charlie, get that thing.
You have an adaptive difficulty game here, which is adapting based on your accuracy, the amount you get hurt, and the number of zombies you kill. Okay. And each one adapts in a slightly different way. If you take damage, it spawns health packs. If you kill lots of zombies, it spawns more zombies. And if you run out of ammo, it spawns ammo. There's also if you run out of ammo, then it spawns weapons.
How do you know how much ammo you?
It doesn't run out. Yes, things. Your accuracy causes it to spawn new weapons. So that's the new weapon that I've got now. Sorry, I got that incorrectly.
So there's something not quite right with your firing, right?
It feels a bit sluggish.
You've got too much of a reload on there, or something.
It's just not very responsive, I think. Yeah,
it's a real shame because that's like the core mechanic.
Yeah, indeed. So the core mechanic feels a bit clunky. My accuracy.
Are the zombies different? Is it easier to shoot to kill some of the?
Yeah, the little ones are one hit, but the big ones, Charlie's not killed anymore.
I think they might even be invincible.
What?
No, there you go. They just got lots of health. Right, fine.
Okay.
Fading to get rid of them is a little bit strange.
Yeah, it's just not very visually appealing, right? But from the point of view of pure mechanics, okay, they've done adaptive difficulty. It works.
I have to say, it looks like it's quite fun. It looks you're definitely playing. We've got a horde of them coming after you there. Indeed. It's just such a shame about that responsiveness of the gun, and that reload time or whatever it is.
And it's not immediately clear where it's shot and what's hit as well.
Does not work, does it?
Yeah, take a bit of damage now, so it spawned a health pack.
But actually, it's working really well. It's giving you health at the right time. It's responding quite nicely. It's responding quite nicely to how well you're doing. Yeah. Your extra speed of those zombies works really nicely.
Well done.
So there are lots of elements to like here, right?
Yeah. Yes, indeed. So I think that what they've got here is they've got actually a moderately sophisticated adaptive difficulty engine. Okay, it's doing a bit of user modelling, and they are actually you feel it. It works. Okay. The game itself is a little bit clunky, a little bit sticky. It's not that super high quality, but the technology, the innovation at the heart of it works.
I think it's just unfortunate that this is a game about shooting things, and the one thing that doesn't work very well is the bit where you shoot.
Yes, it was not very satisfying.
I think that's a real problem.
Are you feeling that too, Ricky?
Yeah, no.
So also as well, it looks like it's unfortunate that every time we pick up the new gun there, we're only getting the sort of shotgunny thing, the spread one. There's a machine gun, I think, and lots of there's a few other different sorts of weapons.
So that looks like it could be really quite fun. And we talked earlier on about one of the other ones about how having a different variety of weapons would be quite good, and
nice way
would just give you more interest in the game itself.
Yeah.
But it's actually a good example of how there is no background here at all, right? There is virtually no level design.
Yeah.
And yet the procedural generation or the adaptive difficulty rather is just about enough to carry it.
Just about enough to make it a game. Yeah, absolutely. And it does kind of work, right? This is an adaptive difficulty game in which the difficulty adapts.
I actually think there's quite a lot to like about this.
Yeah.
Why isn't that one dying? I'm literally shooting him in the face.
Yeah, the shooting.
Because it's not shooting.
It is shooting, but it's just not very often, and it's quite unresponsive. And
there we go. Oh no! I thought I had a way out there. I thought they'd all got out.
So I think that they need to balance the difficulty a bit here because Ricky clearly should have died. So I'm getting away with it.
You're not taking anywhere near enough damage.
Yeah. So the balance needs a bit of play, but that's fine.
Yeah, back up to full health.
But I think there's the problem again. I think that's a bug in the game in that the zombies sometimes they cluster around you too close, such that they basically can't get through to hit you, so their own hitboxes are interacting with each other rather than with you.
Okay. So you're not actually taking damage.
So and also on top of that as well, I think Ricky's shot thing doesn't necessarily clip with them as well, which is why Ricky was getting frustrated with. So I think there's certainly some quality issues here, but, but the actual algorithm is.
I think a right click to boot the zombies in the face would have been great.
Clear the path, right?
Give them a boot, knock them out the way.
Or some explosive weapon like a grenade or something.
Yes. Yeah, although the shotgun should maybe just knock them back, and if you knock the zombie into a zombie, it knocks the other zombies. A little bit 2D physics on the zombies. That would have done it.
But kind of fun.
Yeah.
Kind of fun. Go on then. So. Here we go. Was it? There we go.
So give Dave a little go at this, and then we'll have to.
All this is going to be is Dave complaining about the shooting mechanic.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, that is. Pretty Shoot.
Yeah. This is the thing, right? It's a sort of fundamental mechanic that doesn't quite.
So is it? Oop. So can you push them? You can sort of push them.
Yeah, you can sort of
quite
push
strong though. Yeah. If there's enough of them.
Well, zombies.
There you go.
Right. So one of the things I think they have got really right is the speed. Your speed in relation to them works really well.
Yeah. Definitely gives you enough manoeuvrability to get on.
Is it? You've got infinite firing distance as well.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. But again, that's not particularly clear as well. It's another thing that they could do. I think as well. I forget, and I'd have to double check my notes. But I think maybe depending on how you played, determines how many of the big bad guys you get as opposed to the little ones as well. So that's another thing they adapt.
Yeah. I mean, you can hear my rate of clicking compared to my rate of actual firing.
Yeah.
So I mean, it would have. I mean, the way to balance that presumably is put the rate of fire up, but make it do less damage.
Yeah.
And then it just makes it a lot more satisfying.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I think we should probably move on.
Yeah.
So
brilliant. Good stuff. But good go really for a really simple premise. Actually works quite well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so our last one of this sprint is Tank Shooter. So this is again one in a similar vein. In let's say I'm top down and I'm walking around and shooting things. Adaptive difficulty game. Okay. So there you go. It's a survival game. Okay, with a series of waves, and the way they've done the adaptive difficulty in this is it's a combination of stereotyping and a exponential user-based curve. So the levels themselves have.
Seems hard.
Yeah, indeed, it does. Have a sort of predefined amount of difficulty. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're all like sort of like, oh, this level will have this many enemies, this level will have that many enemies, so on and so forth. But then based on your ability, they've got a not an exponential curve, a logarithmic curve. Okay, which determines like whether how much they should multiply that about.
Okay.
So there you go. So
okay. So there's an automatic progression, but it
yes, but it varies.
So,
but it's not based on the specific things you do. It's just based on the fact of whether you're sort of how successful you are or not. I think it's like you succeeded the level with how much life. Oh yeah, these red things are barrels for you to explode.
Oh, okay.
That's what they are. I remember that.
So one of the things that first of all, look how much more satisfying the shooting mechanic is.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, really, really good.
Even though it's still lots of shots to kill, it's
yeah, that's
just
quite
that
nice.
you get to do something.
It looks to me like they've. Is it a bug that when you shoot them they come towards you?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah,
Shouldn't
I think
it be the other way around?
Yes, indeed, exactly. I think the problem is they've got this animation thing between cells, as in like move forward in a cell. But what it does is when it hits it, it just re-renders itself in the cell it was moving to. But so I think if that wasn't a bug, then they didn't tell me. So I'm pretty sure it's a bug. But yeah. But it's quite, like you say, right, it's very satisfying to play. The adaptive difficulty works. It's quite simplistic, it's not really based on any specific user modelling or way that...
Whoa, that's quite a big radius of that.
Yeah, those barrels are pretty big.
So is it...
and that's quite satisfying, nice. I've run out of ammo.
So it tells you, yeah. Okay, so what's it monitoring? You say it's monitoring the...
I think it's just monitoring whether you pass the level and how much damage you took doing it, and then that gets you a point on the logarithmic curve, which is a multiplier for the next thing. But the thing is, I think you can get stuck in these situations where you're just stuck.
And it multiplies the number of enemies that you have.
Yeah, number of enemies and number of explosive barrels.
Okay, and are there different types of enemies, or?
No, it's all just zombies.
Okay, and what happened there is you ran out of ammo, no way of getting new ammo,
indeed,
no way of killing them without ammo.
Precisely, so it's impossible.
Yeah, that is a shame.
But the time that you have to survive for as well is another one they adapt based on the curve.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you say, right, this sort of jumping forward
Can you
thing is
even kill them?
Very odd, yeah.
Like, is there enough ammo in the level to kill all the enemies?
Don't know. Good question.
Maybe
Like,
you need to
have
use the
use
barrels.
the red barrels.
Yeah,
Like,
yes,
lure
we
them
can.
towards the red barrels.
Does it show you how much ammo you have?
No,
I
it
can't
doesn't.
see anything.
Yeah, you just find out when you're out.
So again, some more feedback on that.
Yeah, indeed. So I think there's a few game design issues here. They've made good use of a very simple mechanic.
Yep. Very satisfying.
Yeah. Well, actually, I guess we were complaining a second ago about not being able to kill the enemies without ammo, but actually the objective isn't to kill the enemies; it's to survive. So if I just ran away from more, then I would have been fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
we just have to survive for the time.
Good point.
Yeah. So that's
a bit an unsatisfying way of surviving, though, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. And those barrels are massive, and it's not clear that I was killed by that barrel.
No.
Oh, is that
right?
Yeah.
But okay, yeah. So there's a few design issues here.
But the mechanic, the firing mechanic works well. The tracer fire is really satisfying. Actually, that works really nicely.
Yeah, and I think that's all I have to say.
So what about the meaningfulness? So that classic question of if this was designed, or if there was a kind of a static.
So this is the thing. So in fact, we can actually say with this game, right? Because this game actually has underneath it just a designed difficulty, and that it has the schema essentially for the levels, and it's adding that logarithmic adaptive curve on top of it. So does that curve add anything to the game? Possibly, but I have to confess, I'd be hard pressed to say I was noticing it.
Yeah, I think it's quite. If it's there, it's quite subtle.
Yeah, indeed. So I get the feeling these enemies are moving slower. So maybe when I said earlier that there weren't different types of zombies, I might be wrong. There might be some fast zombies and some slow zombies.
What is it adapting? Just the enemies that come in?
The number of zombies up the sides of it.
Yeah. But now I've got a minute of running around without ammo and avoiding zombies. That's arguably not fun.
not fun.
Definitely needs a Benny Hill music.
And also fairly easy. There's no chance that at all, right?
Indeed, yeah. It doesn't encourage you to engage with its fun
because
mechanic.
there's not more zombies appearing.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah.
Not become hard.
And in fact, that's probably where you'd want the adaptive difficulty to be, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, no. So the adaptive difficulty does create more zombies at the start, but
but as you go, you this is what you want. This is what you want the game to say. Right at this point, the player is not being challenged. And now we need more stuff.
Yeah.
So I think when we talk about meaningfully affecting gameplay, that's what we mean, right? It actually makes a difference
It
to
detects
your
these
experience.
situations,
Yeah.
and just from a bit of playtesting, you would have noticed
Yes.
your second player doing exactly this.
Yeah.
Um,
So nice little game. Some very satisfying bits to it. But perhaps
a couple of design issues.
And again could probably have done a bit more with the
Got the ammo
with
last.
the adaptive difficulty. Maybe used it a bit more intelligently.
Yeah. Okay, then let's leave it there. So that's the end.
Yeah,
of that
that's
run.
our last one. So I think we've got a couple of more VR ones to do. So we'll catch you again for our final video.